Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today and welcome to this presentation of the only candlestick pattern you'll ever need. Now today I'm going to reveal to you a pattern, and if we look at this example right here, you'll see that in ZBH, had you known what to look for and what to identify, you would have spotted this pattern actually right here, and if you would have taken advantage of it, you could have caught on to a very nice rally that continued after that. I'm also going to include in today's presentation a very good confirmation tool that we apply here at Specialist Trading, and you'll see how powerful it is. In fact, if we look at this older example of the British pound, we see that right here, going back a couple of years, this tool could have told you to be out of the British pound, or if you were more aggressive, to be even short, well before the news came out about what happened in Europe last week with Brexit and all the announcements that were made. So this promises to be a great presentation. Thank you for joining us today and welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading. I see a lot of people have joined us in the past, are in attendance today, but for those of you who are new to my presentations, let me just state that we are a little bit different from other companies and other presenters by the fact that all our motivation is in educating you. That's the only thing we really want to do. We don't promise to have the perfect system or the perfect chat room, or we follow news events or perfect support and resistance lines. We actually don't believe in that. What we believe is that sound education that has stood the test of time, is what's really going to make you a consistent trader. So all we do at Specialist Trading is teach and mentor all of my students and members in all around the world, in over 100 countries around the world, as well as every state in the United States, so that we can really put the power back in your hands. Now, I've been trading for nearly 4 decades. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I made markets in roughly about 50 stocks. I traded through the crash of 1987 and the bull market that followed. So I've seen and traded just about every imaginable system, strategy there is, in every imaginable environment you can think of, straight up, straight down, sideways. I know what works in terms of consistency. I know what doesn't. So that's what we do at Specialist Trading. About 7 or 8 years ago, I teamed up with my sister site, which is Pro Trader Strategies. And we formulated this educational company so that we can supply all of our students with education so that you can put the power back in your hands. In our opinion, once again, that's the only thing that is going to sustain you throughout your trading career, not some fly-by-night system or some great indicator, but the education that has stood the test of time. That's the same thing that was able to sustain my trading, so that I've been able to trade nearly 40 years. Now, I'm going to share with you this great candlestick pattern. You'll be able to start using as early as today, as soon as we conclude in just about an hour from now. But we are first required to show you this, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this particular candlestick pattern, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I am about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And as you're taking a moment to view our disclaimer once again, I would like to take this time to invite each and every one of you, if you haven't done so already, to follow us on Twitter. You may want to copy down our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. Each and every day I post information anywhere from signals that some of our strategies have generated to little bits of wisdom along the way, little bits of things I've accumulated along the way in my career. But although Twitter is rather limited in the way it's structured, if you'd like to get a little bit more detailed information, something that is a little bit more enhanced and videos on our educational site, you can go to Facebook. Now, Pro Trader Strategies has constructed a Facebook page, and there's a lot more detailed information, educational videos, and more information about myself, okay? So those are a couple of real quick things to state about how to get more information, but I also would like to take this time to make a quick announcement as to an event I've been asked to speak at in just about 3 weeks from now, and I'd love to see each and every one of you there if you have the time to make it. It's the CBOE and Option Pit Professional Trader Summit. This is going to be held in Chicago, July 20th and 21st. It's going to be at the Chicago Board of Options Exchange right there in the building, and there's going to be a number of speakers, great speakers, talking about different techniques and different information. I'm going to be teaching you as well about some of the proprietary techniques we have at Specialist Trading. Now, if you become a VIP member, you'll also be able to attend a special VIP session on Friday, July the 22nd. As you see there at the bottom, that is the link. You can get more information. That's not live, so you have to copy and paste that onto your browser. But it's going to be a great show, and I'd love to see all of you there. I've gotten to meet other people from time and time again. I speak at seminars. I'm asked to speak. and I get to meet a few of our students and a few of our members, but I'd love to see more and meet more of you and take some time to discuss things with you in person. So if you have the time, please join us once again at the CBOE and Option Pit Professional Traders Summit, July 20th, 21st, and 22nd in Chicago. Click on the link. You'll have to copy and paste that, but click it on and you'll get much more information about what's going to be happening that particular week. All right, so why don't we begin? Once again, let me just state before we go into today's presentation that we are an educational company. Now, I make no secret about this. My first year or two on the floor, I struggled tremendously. So I know what a lot of you are going through. Many of you are probably having a couple of good trades or even possibly a couple of good months, and then you give it all back. Well, I know exactly what that's like because that's the way my first year or two of trading was like. And even though I was on the floor and I had access to all this information, I really couldn't make ends meet. So I know what you're going through. I was lucky enough to have some mentors that were able to turn my way of trading around, and the things they taught me and shared with me are the things that have been able to sustain me for nearly 40 years. So this is what I try to do with all my students. Not simply force feed them with signals on a nightly basis, not simply tell them this is the best stock or future to trade or this is the best time frame. We leave that up to you. But what I try to do is just teach you how to trade with the specialist edge. And this is the same edge that was taught to me. This is the same edge that was able to sustain my trading so that I've been able to trade for nearly 4 decades. And this is what I teach and mentor all of my students. Now, since this presentation is going to be constructed such as being in a classroom, if you happen to have any questions, kindly wait till the very end of the presentation to ask any questions, okay? Because many times if you wait for the next slide, your question will be answered. But the only question I will answer at this point is the most popular, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. We record all of our presentations, so if you have to leave early or if you're having technical difficulties, simply contact Pro Trader Strategies and they will send you a link to this recording, okay? So once again, if you just came in, kindly wait till the end of the presentation to ask any questions. That'll be just about 30 minutes from now at the most. All right, so why don't we begin? And let's start out by talking about engulfing candlestick patterns. Now, this is a variation of what we're going to be speaking about today, but just for a refresher course, let's look at what a standard engulfing candlestick pattern is. Now, what I want to be sharing with you today is the variation, and it's a bull-bull pattern. Many of you who have taken my courses before know what this pattern is, but for those of you who aren't familiar with what a bull-bull pattern is, let's look at this example. Here is your standard bullish engulfing pattern, okay? It is a 2-bar pattern, and basically it's a reversal pattern. Bar number 1 and bar number 2. Now usually bar number 1 is down, as you can see by the dark body here, and bar number 2 is up. Now the reason why they call it an engulfing pattern is because the range from open to close of bar number 2 engulfs the downward range of open to close of bar number 1. Okay, but we're going to increase our odds for consistency even more by just changing one thing. Instead of having bar number 1 down, we want to change bar number 1 to be up. So you're going to actually have 2 up days, all right? But you're still engulfing the open to close range of bar number 1 by bar number 2, okay? So do you see the difference here? Whereas this was a down day, we don't want it to be down. We want both days of the 2-bar pattern to be up. But bar number 2 is still engulfing the open to close range of bar number 1. This is an extremely consistent pattern. When you see this, this can at times call for a strong upward trend move or can signal that a strong upward trend is likely to happen. And there's a great amount of consistency in this. In fact, more consistency than you'll see in your standard bullish engulfing pattern. So this is the pattern I'm sharing with you today. It's called a bull-bull pattern. Bull-bull because you have 2 up days. Now, conversely, we can look at a bear-bear pattern, all right? Just the opposite side of the coin. Here's your standard bearish engulfing pattern. Once again, it's a 2-bar pattern. Bar number 1 is usually up, as you see, open and closes higher, as we see by this open body here. And bar number 2 is usually a down day. It opens and closes lower. Now, bar number 2's range from open to close engulfs totally bar number 1's range from open to close, okay? This is your standard bearish engulfing pattern. Now what we want to do is change bar number 1 from an up day to a down day, All right, so bar number 1 opens and closes lower. Bar number 2 also opens and closes lower, but bar number 2's range at the same time engulfs the open to close range of bar number 1. This is a bear-bear pattern, extremely powerful, because it's just like the bull-bull pattern. Many times it will signal an impending downward trend, a strong trend to the downside. Oftentimes you can use it as a signal to go short. I have found in my nearly 40 years of trading much higher level of consistency seeing these patterns as opposed to your standard bullish and bearish engulfing patterns, okay? So let's look at some examples of this in action. Now, as we look at this example in JEC, this was in early May, we see that we've come up higher, and conventional wisdom tells us that standard bearish engulfing patterns are usually met at the top of a range. So we're looking for a trend reversal. Well, we don't look at that when we're using these bull-bull and bear-bear patterns. We don't look for any type of trend reversal. In fact, we don't care. We're just looking for the pattern. We just want to find the pattern wherever it is, at the top of a trend, at the bottom of a trend. It absolutely makes no difference. So as we see here, all of these days are headed higher, and they're all closing higher. And what do we have here? We have a bull-bull pattern, okay? So this is roughly at the beginning of May, and look what happened. In the next 2 months, coming towards the end of June, we just went up 8 points in 2 months. So you can see that we really have a very nice rally here that started just a day or two after that bull-bull pattern. Do you see how powerful this is? Remember, most people would say, well, we've been rising, so I'm going to look for a bearish engulfing pattern. Excuse me here, we just seem to have a little bit too many people in the room. Apologize for that. I know this is a very popular class, and we have over our limit of 100 people. So you're the people who have joined us, I welcome you. For the people who have been locked out, don't worry, they'll most likely be getting a video of this presentation. But as we see here, most people would look at this and say, well, we've gone up too high. We're meeting all the resistance here. The guy in the chat room says we've gone up far too high, so I'm going to look for some type of reversal pattern. Remember, we're not interested in those things. Those are the things that keep you from being successful, that keep you from being consistent. Everything we need to know is just in the chart in front of us. So when we're looking at this particular pattern, this is a very strong signal that the market is headed higher. It's a bull-bull pattern. Now, conversely, we can look at this chart here in PX. Now, same thing happens. We're going up very strongly, but it looks as if we may be starting to roll over, all right? It does not matter. We do not care if we're going higher or lower. We still find a bull-bull pattern right here, all right? So this is telling us that we have most likely more upside to follow. And the stock went up 7 more points in the next month. Now, we're not saying that you're going to get in exactly and get out exactly with a 7-point gain, but that's how much room you have to work with. You could have taken a 1 or 2 point gain, 5 points, even 7 points if you look for more. And we teach ways in which to stay in trade as long as possible before getting stopped out. So let's say you used one of our proprietary techniques for squeezing as much profit as possible, and then you ultimately got stopped out with a nice gain. And then you're just following, you're just following the market, and as you can see, we start to fall out of bed. Okay, well, that's all right. We don't really care what direction we're going in. And what are we met with? We're met with a bear-bear pattern. Okay, so people would say, well, Steve, I thought at the bottom of a pattern we should be looking to go long. Remember, we're not concerned with that. We're only concerned with the pattern. So this is telling us there's more room to the downside. And as you can see, 4 more points to the downside in the next month. Remember that chart we showed you at the very beginning of the presentation in ZBH? Well, right here is where we found the pattern, because even though we're looking at roughly about a week's worth of action going sideways, right at the end, what did we have? We had a bull-bull pattern, okay? So we're not looking for any type of trend reversal. We're not looking for a top. We're looking for more room to the upside, and the stock went up 10 more points in the next 2 months. So you see how powerful this is. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every setup works, okay? That's not natural, and I know a lot of webinars you go to, people are talking about thousands of percent are made and you can retire using this tool or this indicator. I don't believe in that. I've been trading 40 years roughly, and I know that nothing works all of the time. So I would never try to tell you that. In fact, here's a couple of examples right here. If we look in Apple, we see here that we have a bear-bear pattern, all right? So that should tell us that we're going lower. But look what happened. We went up, all right? And in fact, here we're looking at PRGO, we have a bull-bull pattern. So that would tell us that we're going up higher as well. And look what happened, it fell out of bed. So even though nothing works all of the time, there are still ways to add or increase our odds for success. So how can we increase our odds for consistency or success? Well, here's the second tool I was talking about, the Pet Dee. You've heard me speak about this before. It is the most powerful tool we have, trending tool and confirmation tool we have at Specialist Trading, because in this case, it does a fantastic job of confirming the bull-bull or the bear-bear setup. Let me show you what I mean here. First of all, if you're not familiar with what the Pet Dee is, it's a proprietary tool I was introduced to on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. Now, at the time, we had to come up with a specific calculation on a daily basis because we didn't have high-speed computers or programmers then. This was in the 70s. But now, because of programmers and high-speed computers, we've programmed it into a color bar tool. So if you see a series of green bars, it's telling you that you're in a short-term uptrend. And if you see a series of red bars, it's simply telling you you're in a short-term downtrend. So there's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to calculate it. We've done all the work for you. So here's how we could have applied it to the British pound. Remember I told you how this could have kept you out of the really strong downslide in the British pound last week? Well, as we see here where we have the red circle, this is where you would have actually exited. Because if we add the Pet Dee, well, guess what? We had 3 consistent red bars here. And if you notice, these are monthly bars. Now, you can apply this to tick charts, to 5-minute bars, weekly, and even monthly bars. But using a monthly bar on the British pound, we would have known back as far back as September of 2014, 2 years ago, that the British pound has been in a downtrend. So there's no way any of our members on a long-term basis would have been long the British pound. So many people who are saying, boy, that news of Brexit caught me off guard. There's no way I can make money when news like that comes out. We don't care about the news. We don't look at the news because everything is in the front of us in the chart. So that's all you need to do. This tool, which is so powerful, would have told you 2 years ago that on a long-term basis, the British pound is very negative. So you shouldn't be trading it, okay? You should be either on the sideline or you should be at least short the British pound. And as you can see, that last bar is what happened this past month. So how do we use this great confirmation tool, the Pet Dee, along with these bull-bull and bear-bear patterns? Well, here's how we're going to apply them. For bull-bull patterns, we're only going to buy if the 2-bar bull-bull pattern is colored green. Okay, so in other words, we do not care if every bar before that was red. We want to see both of those bars, bar number 1 and bar number 2, colored green. That's the only way we will take that as some type of a buy setup. So as we look here in FFIV, we see here that we're kind of going sideways to higher, and then we're met with a bull-bull pattern. Okay. Now someone could say, well, that's very positive. That Steve said, I went to his webinar, and he says that's really good, but I saw a couple of losers, and I'm not sure I want to take that. Well, if you have the Pet Dee, you simply apply the color bar tool. And now you see that both of those bars are green. So this is giving you the confirmation and the confidence to take the trade. And as you can see here, the stock went up 18 points in 3 weeks. All right. Obviously, some news came out right there in June a couple of weeks ago that shot the stock up. We had no idea what that was. We have no idea. Everything we got, all the information we got was from the chart in front of us. There's no reason to focus on news. There really isn't. We don't suggest to any of our members to follow the news. I stopped looking at the news nearly 40 years ago, and I'm still trading, so why would you have to look at the news, okay? Now, for a bear-bear pattern, we're only going to sell if the 2-bar bear-bear pattern is colored red. So once again, if you have a series of green bars, but then a bear-bear pattern appears, and both of those bars are red, then it's giving you the confidence to take it because it's been confirmed by the Pet Dee. So let's look at this example here at HRB. As you can see, the stock was drifting lower, and then obviously something came out where the stock gapped down sharply and is much lower than it was weeks before. At this point, most people are saying, well, it's tremendously oversold. All the indicators are in this tremendously oversold area. The chat room I go to said, you've got to buy this. It's too low. It's got to bounce and snap back, maybe fill that gap. Or the news really wasn't as bad as you figured. So do you see how these are all outside sources? They're not coming from the most important thing, was the chart in front of you. We only focus on that. So as you can see here, what do we have in the chart in front of us? We have a bear-bear pattern. That's the only thing we're looking at. And a bear-bear pattern tells us that we'll most likely go lower. But we want to confirm it because, we're not sure that it's going to work out. So all you have to do is add the Pet Dee. And as you can see, all of the bars have been red. In fact, before that large sell-off, that large gap opening to the downside, the bars were already red. So the Pet Dee has already been telling you that this is in a strong downward trend. So you have the confidence to take this as a sell signal. Even though it's dropped tremendously, it's still telling you that there's more room to the downside. And as you can see, the stock went down 9 more points in the next 2 months. Okay? So this is how you can trade with confidence, by looking at bull and bear patterns. Once again, the only candlestick pattern I really feel you'll need, along with the Pet Dee. So let's look at some more examples. Let's start out with stock examples for all you stock traders. And let's look at this example in OI. Now, once again, someone could say, well, Steve, there's no real trend here. We're kind of going sideways. We don't care about that. I know a lot of people will go to chat rooms and trading rooms and look for the trends and look for strong up and down moves. We're only concerned with the pattern here, the candlestick pattern. And what do we have? We have 2 bull patterns, which is telling us most likely the stock is going to go higher. Now, if we want to have a little bit more confidence, we add the Pet Dee, and obviously each and every one of those bars is green. So that's giving us the confidence to go long, even though it doesn't take off right off the bat. Ultimately, it kicks in and we go a little higher. Now, as you can see here, you've got a nice little profit, but should you get out? Well, I don't know, because there's a bull pattern right here, followed by another bull pattern. So you got one right here and then another one right here with the second bar. So actually, the market is saying, no, we're going to go higher. And as you can see, it went up, and the stock went up a total of 4 points in just 1 month. That doesn't seem like a lot, but remember, that is just a teen stock. When we started looking at it, it was only a $15 or $16 stock. So it went up a really nice percentage in just 1 month. Let's look at SPLS, all right? What do we have? We have a bear pattern. What is the market telling us? Not what is someone in the trading room telling us, not what is some pundit on TV telling us about the stock. What is the chart telling us? The chart is telling us there's more room to the downside, most likely. All right. Now, do we want to add some consistency to this? Yes. Let's add the Pet Dee. And the Pet Dee is coloring both bars red. You see, every bar before that was colored green, but now we have 2 red bars, and as you can see, the stock dropped 2.5 points, or 25% of its value, because this is only a $10.50 stock. So you just made 25% of its value to the downside if you shorted this stock. Let's look at FAST, all right? 5 points to the upside. Had you taken the very first setup back here at the end of February coming into March, you see the stock went up from 45 all the way up to 50, okay? So that was a nice run up here based off this first bull pattern. Then you had a couple more telling you that you were going higher. And then as you can see here, what do we have? We have a bear pattern that is colored red by the Pet Dee. So that's telling you either to exit the trade, or if you're already exiting using one of our proprietary exit techniques, you could now begin a new short trade. And there's your setup right there. And 2 points quickly to the downside in the next couple of days. Let's look at CI, okay? Once again, all the bars are green, and then what do we have? We have a bear pattern, and it's confirmed by the Pet Dee. So even though this is an expensive stock, $138, that's okay. You could have purchased options on this. You could have purchased puts or maybe some negative option strategy to go short, because not all of our students just trade stocks. Many of them trade options. That's okay. Whatever tradable unit you want, you simply add to this setup, and the stock went down 13 points in the next 3 weeks, okay? Could have made money on options or shorting the stock, whatever you wanted to do. How about EIX, okay? Well, here was a bull pattern. It was confirmed by the Pet Dee, and the stock goes up 5 points in 1 month. The beauty of this is, many times you'll get another one, as we see right here. This was just this past week. Another bull pattern was last week in EIX, and we didn't include today's action, but I'm sure probably sure it's much higher today as well. How about JEC? We talked about this earlier. Now here is your bull pattern. It's confirmed by the Pet Dee. So you see the stock goes up 8 points in just 1 month. We also have ALXN. Now here's a really good example. This is where most people have a lot of trouble with because they're so scared, they're so used to conventional wisdom telling this, well, the stock's too low or it's too high or the market's too low or too high. I can't do anything now. Remember, those are all outside sources, conventional wisdom, things we've been taught that really don't work. There's no consistency in them. The only thing we teach all of our students is to listen to the chart in front of you. Now, as ALXM was going higher, all of the bars were green. But then something came out where the stock really dropped, so all the bars have now turned red. And it's come down rather quickly from roughly 160 all the way down to 125. So it's lost about 35 points. Someone at this point would say, well, we don't want to sell it. It's already come down too low. But as you see here, what do we have? We have a bear-bear pattern, and it's also confirmed red by the Pet Dee. So the Pet Dee is simply telling you, if you're thinking about going long, it's a little bit too early because there's still more room to the downside. As you can see, the stock dropped another 14 points in the next week. Now let's look at Urban right here. As we can see, before this news came out where the stock went up tremendously, here was your bull pattern and it was confirmed, okay? Now, do you see how, powerful this is? I'm sorry, I don't mean to rub this in, but we really don't suggest anyone look at the news because how did this pattern tell us a full day in advance to get long prior to this gap to the opening to the upside, okay? It wasn't as if someone in the company called us and told us to go long. The market was telling us. So all you have to do is look at this. You could have bought on the close if you're a more aggressive trader and taken advantage of this nice 6-point upswing. You could have taken a couple of point gain, gotten out in the opening, could have tried to squeeze as much as possible. Now, as the trend changed, okay, now we're looking for other signals. And what do we have here? We have a bear-bear pattern. Now, this one took a little longer to kick in. In fact, it really didn't kick in very well, another couple of weeks, but ultimately it did, and 5 more points to the downside. So I'm trying to show you all different scenarios where in this scenario, it happened the very next day. In this scenario, it took a couple of weeks before it finally kicked in. Let's look at FOSL, fossil, all right? Now, we have a series of green bars. We have one red bar, a couple of green bars. So there's no real pattern here until we get to our bear-bear pattern. And it's confirmed red by the Pet Dee. So this is telling us, all right, most likely the market wants to go lower. The Pet Dee is confirming this. We have a pattern that the market tells us it wants to go lower. So even though we're going sideways for the next week, we should be looking to go short because we're not picking any type of a bottom. We haven't made any type of double bottom here or support level. We're looking to fall out of bed. So had you taken this setup here and gone short, you could have taken advantage of the real nice drop that came in price and 13 points in just 3 weeks. Once again, we had no idea that some news came out where the stock was going to drop from 40 all the way down to 26. We didn't know that. No one in the company called us up at First Solar and said, hey, Steve, you may want to contact all of your students and members and tell them to go short because you seem like a nice educational company and I'd like to throw you guys a bone here and there's going to be some bad news coming out. So why don't you just announce to everyone in your company to go short our stock? No one told us that. We didn't have to look at any news. We didn't have to look at any earnings. We didn't have to look at any other indicators. Everything you need to know is in front of you. This is what we teach you at Specialist Trading. And the beautiful thing is most of the stuff in front of you is extremely simple to see. The only problem is we've never been taught to look at that. We've always been taught to look at outside sources, look at the news, look at a ton of indicators, look at some guy in a chat room or a trade room, listen to what he's saying. They're all outside sources. But once we get rid of what my mentors called noise and we just focus on the chart in front of us, then you start to have consistency in your trading. It's a lot simpler and a lot cheaper. You don't have to pay for all these services. Remember, our only job and our only goal at Specialist Trading is to teach you all of these things I've accumulated in 40 years and structure some type of plan for you so that you can put the power back in your hands. You won't have to rely on anyone or anything to tell you what to buy or sell that day. You can do it yourself. Now you can also apply this to ETFs. Here's the diamonds. This is the ETF for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. As you look here back in March coming into April and May, we were in a very nice uptrend. And at this point, someone would say, well, the market may be up a little bit too high here. But what do we have? We have a bull pattern. We have a bear pattern. And then we have another bull pattern. So at this point, which one do we take? This is the beauty of the Pet Dee. This is where the Pet Dee really helps. Because even though the bull-bull and bear-bear patterns have a high level of consistency, the Pet Dee will confirm it. It will tell you if it's okay to take. So remember, bull-bull patterns circled in green both need to be colored green. And bear-bear patterns circled in red need to be colored red. So let's add the Pet Dee and see what the colors were. Well, as we look here, starting in February, all the colors have been green. So there's no reason to even think to sell the market, okay? So all we're going to take are the bull-bull patterns. We're not even consider the bear-bear patterns, and it would have been a good thing because the ETF went up 10 points in the next month, okay? Now that represented roughly about 1,000 points in the Dow. So wouldn't you have liked to use this as a directional tool? If you got a buy signal and a bull-bull pattern in the diamonds, don't you think the market, the Dow Jones Industrial, is going to follow suit? That was 1,000 points in the next month in the Dow. Now here's that Apple chart we looked at earlier. Remember, here's a bear-bear pattern, and this is the beauty of the Pet Dee. This is why we really feel you need the Pet Dee, because had you just known what to look for in the pattern, there once again is a high level of consistency. But when you add the Pet Dee, you would have seen that none of the bars were colored red. In fact, they were still colored green. So this was telling you that you should not have taken this trade. So sometimes the best trades are the ones you never take. So as you can see here, you would not have taken that, and you would not have had a major loss here in Apple. The same thing would be with that other example we had in PRGO, Prego. Here was a bull-bull pattern. Now, most likely, this would be a very strong tendency for the market, the stock, to go higher. But if you have the Pet Dee, you can confirm it. So remember, bull-bull patterns need to be colored green. If we apply the Pet Dee, we see that both of those days were colored red. So we don't want to take this trade because the Pet Dee is not confirming it. And had we missed this trade and not taken it all, we would have bypassed all of these downward days here. So the Pet Dee will also keep you out of trouble as well. That's why it's such a powerful tool. Now, we've looked at stocks, we've looked at ETFs. Let's look at the E-mini as well. We can look here at a 30-minute chart. This is going back to roughly the 9th and 10th of June. So this was a couple of weeks ago on a 30-minute time frame of the continuous market here. As we see here, we have a number of bear-bear patterns, okay? Both days down, and bar number 2 is engulfing bar number 1. Now this is a very strong downward signal coming on a 30-minute time frame of the E-mini, okay? This was before the market fell out of bed. The market was telling us already that we're most likely going to be going lower. But if you want to be sure, you confirm it with the Pet Dee, and you can see that all of those bear-bear patterns were colored red. So this is giving you the confidence to go short the E-mini, and had you done that, well, you had 22 points to the downside the next day. That's $1,100 per contract had you taken that. Now that was on a 30-minute time frame. Let's look at a 1-minute time frame, because we know that a lot of people who trade the futures like to trade very small increments intraday. Here's a 1-minute time frame, okay? And I believe this was just this past week, just a few days ago. As we can see here, we have a number of bull-bull patterns. Now the market has been going higher, but we continue to be met by bull-bull patterns. So how do we make sure that we should be taking these on a 1-minute time frame? Well, they're all colored green. As you can see, each and every one of those bull-bull patterns has been confirmed by the Pet Dee. In fact, the last one was confirmed, and as you can see, it was 15 points to the upside in the next 2 hours. That's $750 per contract, okay? Once again, we had no idea the market was going up based off of any support and resistance, based off of any Fibonacci, based off of any Elliott wave, or even based off of any news events. We don't care about those things because they're too subjective. You know, one person can listen to those things and say, oh, they're terribly negative. Another person can look at those things and say, oh, no, they're very positive. At specialist trading, we want things that are cut and dry, things that when two people looking at will come up with the same result. So two people looking at the same chart pattern would say, well, they're bull patterns. Two people looking at it will say they're both colored green. So there's no room for discretion there. You both know that that's a very positive stance in the market, and the market went up 15 points in the next couple of hours. This is just a 1-minute time frame. Okay, so we've looked at stocks, ETFs, futures. Let's look at the Forex market here. Let's look at an entirely different market, and let's look at an entirely different time frame. A month, or excuse me, I should say a weekly chart of the Canadian dollar. All right. So what do we have? We have a bull pattern. All right. Very positive. So this is going back to November of 2015. All right. About 8 months ago. Now, how can we confirm that? We simply add the Pet Dee. Nothing changes because we're now looking at currency pairs. We're doing the exact same thing, and absolutely nothing changes because we're looking at a weekly time frame. We do the exact same thing, and we see here that it's confirmed by the Pet Dee. Both of those bars, bar 1 and 2, are colored green. So we have the added assurance to take this as a buy setup. And as you can see here, coming into this year, 1,200 pips or $12,000 per contract in just the next 2 months. Once again, we don't look at any economic indicators, what's going on in the world. We just look at the chart in front of us. That's all you need to know. So let's recap before we go into any questions that you may have about this great technique here. Remember, regardless of what candlestick patterns you use, especially if you're using the bull and bear, only buy or sell these candlestick patterns I just shared with you if they are in sync with the Pet Dee. Okay? Because the Pet Dee is a great tool for giving you that added assurance, that confidence that it's okay to take. So if you get a bull pattern, you're going to need that Pet Dee to tell you it's okay to go to the upside by both of those being colored green. If you get a bear pattern, it's okay to take only if both of those bars are colored red. All right? This will give you confidence to take this, and trust me, I really feel strongly that it's the only candlestick pattern you'll ever need. That's how powerful it is. Now, points to remember here. We just showed you the setup, but we didn't talk about a complete strategy because this is not a complete strategy. We didn't talk about advanced entry signals. Where would you have entered? Would you have entered at the end of or the close of bar number 1? Would you enter the next day? Or would you put a limit a little bit lower? All right, we have a number of different entry placements at specialist trading that we teach you in our courses, but we didn't talk about them today. We also didn't talk about stop placement. You have to protect yourself because, once again, nothing works 100% of the time. These patterns have a very high level of consistency, especially when you add the Pet Dee to them. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every trade is a winner. You will have small losses from time to time. So you have to protect yourself with stop placement. In our courses, we have upwards of 6 different stop placements for advanced, for conservative, aggressive traders. We have different ways in which to stay in the trade much longer by using our stop placement. But we didn't talk about them at all today. We also didn't talk about exits. Many of these examples I just shared with you had numbers of points in gains and in profits. But we're not saying you would have gotten out of the exact high or the exact low. We have different exit placements for a number of our strategies, okay? And these are all important pieces of the puzzle, but we didn't speak about any of them. In fact, we didn't speak about the most important, which is money management. How many shares should you be trading? How many contracts? Okay? When do you move your stop to unchanged? We didn't talk about any of that. Okay? These are all important pieces of the puzzle, once again, that you need to have in place prior to entering. Now, all I shared with you today was a great candlestick pattern along with the Pet Dee for showing you some great fertile ground here for an entry. But we didn't talk about exactly where you're going to enter. We didn't talk about exactly where you're going to exit, or where you're going to place your stop, or how you're going to manage the trade. Now, here's what I'd like to present today. This is our great candlestick combination that we have. This is strategy number 5 along with the Pet Dee tool. Here's strategy number 5, which is a candlestick strategy that includes the bull, bear, along with the Pet Dee. Now, for all of our attendees today, you're going to get instant course access. This comes with detailed instruction. I'm going to teach you all the entries, all the exits, all the stops. This also comes with signal alerts. You're going to get also the Pet Dee with this as well. So you're going to get 4 Pet Dee trading techniques. And remember, this includes both add-ons. In other words, when a strategy number 5 signal is generated, you will get a little type of indication, either an arrow or some type of indicator telling you that a signal has been generated. At the same time, you're going to get the add-on for the Pet Dee, telling you that it's either confirmed or not confirmed. Okay, you can use these to your pleasure. You can use these with other strategies. You can use different ways in which to trade them, and I show and go all over all of this in our course. Now, after you've learned the strategy and you've traded it for a while, we always suggest that everyone paper trade for right off the bat when you're first learning this. But once we see that you're understanding the method and you're starting to formulate your own, proprietary techniques and how to apply it, we supply you with signals, and these are for educational purposes only. Remember, we don't want you to just blindly take signals and say, well, I didn't really learn the course, I'm just taking the signals that Steve provides. No, they're meant for educational purposes so that you know what to look for. In other words, we're giving you the answers to the test prior to taking the exam so that you know what to look for. Here's a perfect example. Here was an email alert we issued out to many of our course members, and if you see here, circled in green is Nike, NKE. Now that was a strategy number 5, sell signal. Now the issue of the alert was on the 23rd, but many people will enter, our conservative way will enter on the 24th. But if you're a more aggressive trader, you could have actually entered at the close on the 23rd. So let's look at the setup here. As we can see, here is the sell setup on the 23rd. This is just a week or so ago to go short Nike. Now, we give you all the entry. You could have entered that day if you wanted to. You could enter the next day. You could, we tell you where to place your stop, where to exit, and we confirmed it with the Pet Dee. And as we can see here, the Pet Dee colored both of the bars red. So this is a good to go setup. And you can see this happening in real time. You don't have to wait for the end of the day. The Pet Dee will generate the color real time. So as you can see, the stock dropped 3 points in the next 2 days, okay? In fact, it gapped down the next day after we issued the setup. So this is how powerful these tools are and these strategies are. This all comes in our candlestick combo, strategy number 5, along with the Pet Dee tool, okay? Now, here's the discount we're giving for all the attendees today. These are 2 of our most powerful strategies and techniques that we put together for our attendees only. Now, if we sold these separately, it would come up close to $3,000 or $4,000. What we're doing is giving you a great discount of a one-time fee, a one-time payment of $14.95 plus $97 per month. Okay, it's a great deal because if you bought it separately, it would cost close to $4,000. Now, if you want to pay a one-time fee, well, you can get both courses, lifetime access, for just $29.95. So here's how to take advantage of this great deal. You can get on track, and included with this, which I didn't mention, is lifetime correspondence with myself. You also are a student of mine for life, so you can contact me whenever you'd like with any questions concerning anything, and I'll be happy to get back to you and correspond with you over the email structure that we have. So contact Pro Trader Strategies. That's their email address right there, and you can also call them directly at 310-598-6677. There is the link that will take you directly to the sign-up page of the Candlestick combo. Now, it's not live, so you have to copy and paste that. But if you look in the chat box on the far right-hand corner of your go-to webinar screen, you'll see that they have posted a live link. Okay. Remember, now the Pet Dee, as you can see there in the chat box, it works on MT4, TradeStation, Metastock, NinjaTrader, Sierra Charts, Interactive Brokers, FCXM, and Thinkorswim users can use live free stock data to run free NinjaTrader chart for free. We help you with the setup. It's all done free of charge, and it's a great deal we're giving you, and we're giving this only for the attendees today because, once again, Pro Trader Strategies has set the price for both of these, if you purchase them separately, close to I even think possibly even $5,000. But for $14.95 plus a small monthly payment of $97 per month, you can be up and running very quickly. I'm going to leave this information up here on the screen while I open up the question and answer box. Thank you. If you had any questions, thanks for waiting. And let me see what we have here. Let's see. Anthony says, Steve, do you take the news into consideration? No, I think, Anthony, you probably asked this earlier. I don't take the news into consideration at all. Let me just tell you a quick story. When I was working on the floor, that's all I used to take into consideration. I used to look at the news all the time. In fact, I based so many of my trades off of the news. And guess what? My first year or two trading, none of it worked. Sure, sometimes it will work great, and most of the times, have you ever seen where a great news announcement comes in a stock and it goes straight down, or vice versa? So I realized that the news is just subjective, but I continued to do it until my mentors finally said, Steve, why would you look at the news? It's silly. I mean, the news is mainly for long-time investors, okay? You need to know about the, a company or economic conditions for long-term investing. But if you're holding something for a week, a couple of weeks, a month, or even just a couple of hours, there's no need to look at news. So once I stopped looking at that, well, guess what? That's when my trading started to become consistent. So even though I never tell people how and how not to trade because that goes against our philosophy, there is no requirement at all to look at news in our courses, okay? Uh, Let's see, Rudy's asking that my question, is this available for futures markets? Yes, it is, Rudy. As I showed you a lot of examples, we use this. In fact, I use this a lot on the futures market. I was trading this morning using these techniques on the E-mini futures. So yes, it does. In fact, we have a number of students who only apply this to the futures markets, okay? Ed asks, do you count the wicks? Well, Ed, I'm not sure what you're asking. If we're talking about in the engulfing pattern, no, the true definition of engulfing is just the open to close range, okay? The range is not from the top of the wick to the bottom of the wick. The engulfing range is just the open to close. So that's the only thing you should be engulfing, okay? Let's see, Daniel asks, how do you find the right Forex pairs to look at? Well, Basam, there's not a lot of Forex pairs compared to stocks where there are literally thousands. There's just a handful of really good Forex pairs, and we only monitor about 6 of them, okay, the most popular. But they're really easy to see, and they're, once you get the hang of this, all you have to do is on a daily basis, scroll down and go through about 10 of them, and you'll see if there are any setups at all. It's really not difficult. In fact, I have been using this for so long, I just go by sight every night through the entire S&P 500 index to look for setups. And it takes me about maybe 20, 25 minutes, but that's just, I'm old school. That's the way I was trained, and that's the way I look at it. So it's not that difficult with a little practice. Let's see here. Does this work best on daily charts, or does it work just as well on 10, 15, 30, and 60-minute charts? Well, Nick, I showed you charts. I showed you 1-minute charts. I showed 5, 10-minute charts. I showed weekly. So as you can see, it works just about in any time frame. There really is no best, once again, because that goes against our philosophy to tell someone that this is the best time frame, this is the best market to trade, because then I fall into the category of telling you how to trade. There is no best. The best is what makes you feel comfortable, okay? So we have a number of students who say, well, the best time frame for me is an hourly, whereas we have others who say, no, the best time for me is a daily or a weekly. Well, that's all that matters. Whatever makes you feel comfortable is the best time frame. So that's why we always suggest to all of our new members to paper trade a number of different time frames first to decide for yourself. Remember, as I stated in the first 5 minutes of this presentation, we want to put the power back in your hands. And that's going to take some work on your part to decide for yourself what you want to trade, how you want to trade. But I'm right there alongside with you as your personal mentor, helping you along the way, okay? Let's see, another question. Do you have another indicator or moving average to confirm entry? No, we don't have another indicator or moving average. I mean, we tell our students if they'd like to be more aggressive or more conservative, they can add a specific indicator, but it's up to you once again. And we show you what these are, but we like to keep things as simple as possible. That's really our credo, keep things as simple as possible. So I would say out of our roughly 10 different strategies we have in all the different markets, at most we have maybe 2 indicators per strategy, and that's it, no more than that. And maybe a couple of tools, different tools. But we give you a number of exit points, number of entry points, and a number of stop placement points. And that's up for you to decide, okay? Cesar says, does this system work on all time frames? Well, first of all, let me correct you. Remember, this is not a system, because a system is basically designed to take you out of the game. Remember, a system is traded the same exact way each and every time. And as I stated in the very beginning, we want to put the power back in your hands for you to make your own decisions. So if you're trading the system, you have no say at all. It would be just the same as listening to somebody in the chat room telling you what to buy today, all right? We don't believe in that. And the system does the same thing, although it's just systematized. It tells you how to trade. What we do is provide you with strategies. We give you a shell, and then we let you decide how you want to trade it. Do you want to trade it aggressively? Okay, well then we give you the tools to trade it aggressively. Are you a conservative trader? Well then we give you the tools to trade it conservatively. Are you a moderate trader? Or are you a swing trader? Or are you an investor? We give you those tools to trade those ways. But that is the difference between what we do. We don't in any way have things that are systematized. That's why we don't have records or statistics going back 10, 20 years, because everyone trades them differently. We have thousands of students who probably trade these all differently, so we don't have stats on each and every one of our students, but we know that they are trading with consistency now. So it's up to you to decide how you want to trade it. Let's see. Do you take the 50 period simple moving average consideration on this strategy? Well, once again, Nick, that's up to you. If you want to, you can. If you'd like to be more conservative, you can take that into consideration. So if we teach you that in our course for a number of people who aren't familiar with that, if price is above the 50 period, then you'll only be looking for buy setups or bull bulls. If price is below the 50, then you'll only be looking for bear setups, okay? That way, you've just made your trading strategy a little bit more conservative. Now, if you're more aggressive, you don't look at the 50 period moving average, but ultimately, it's up to you, okay? In the beginning, we want all of our students to trade more conservatively so that they fully understand the process. But later on, as they get a little bit more experience under their belt, they can trade it more aggressively. But once again, as you can see, our philosophy is to put the power in your hands, give you all these different variables, but ultimately you'll decide. Because in my opinion, I've seen thousands and thousands of traders. The only ones who have become consistent and who are still trading are the ones who make their own decisions, not the ones that take their signals from some trading guru every day or go to some signal service or go to some chat room. The successful traders I know that are still trading don't even go to those things, the same way we don't provide those either. They just know what to look for and they make their own trading decisions. So this is the great truth about trading. You have to be in control in order to become consistent. You don't take your signals and your setups from someone or something else, even if it's just a system. You take them from your own decision-making process. If you follow that guideline, it's our belief that that's the only way you'll be able to trade 10, 20, 30 years down the road, okay? And this is what we try and instill in all of our members. Now, as we close here, remember, this is a great deal we have for you today. We've really cut the price down. It's a small one-time fee that you can probably set up with a small payment. You can have a payment plan if you'd like, but you have to contact Pro Trader Strategies and they can work with you, okay? So contact Pro Trader Strategies. They handle all of that. I just handle the teaching and the mentoring, but they handle all the pricing and all the different payment plans with you. So if you're interested in that, contact them, call them directly or email them. Or if you're ready to sign up and become a student of mine, all you have to do is click on the link that you see here on the far right-hand corner in the GoToWebinar page, and it'll take you directly to the sign-up page, okay? Now, as we close here, I just want to leave you one more time with the invitation to join me in Chicago at the CBOE and Option Pit Professional Trader Summit. Remember, that's 3 days, the July 20th, 21st, and the 22nd. I really would love to see you there. I'd love to have a drink with you or share some questions and answers with you. And so if you have the time, come join me out there. That's the link at the very bottom, okay? In closing, I want to thank you so much for attending today. I really wish you the best of luck trading, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine at Specialist Trading. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.